Hey guys, and welcome back once again to Rage Gaming, and of course more Dragons Dogma. We're back for more things you might not have known about, be it weird, useful, or just interesting details. A big thank you to the many people who've been getting in with great suggestions and having fun discussions in the comments of these so far. It's been a lot recently, so it's been very nice to see. But as usual, we'll have a mix of community finds and things from the comments, so let's just get started. First up, it's just a fast highlight of some actual updates that are coming to the game. We have this list of what's coming to all versions with some really nice stuff like reducing the infection frequency of Dragon's Plague, and also, importantly, adjusting the signs of pawns infected with Dragon's Plague to be more noticeable. For example, when infected, we're going to see glowing eyes be a lot more noticeable. I've seen a lot of complaints about this, specifically from, say, colorblind people. We're also seeing some interesting quality of life improvements as well. We're going to be able to zoom in on the faces of both the arisen and pawns if you look at the stat screens, but also shops apparently. Treasure chests are going to be less invasive on your minimap when you've actually opened that one already, which is nice. Maybe we'll stop hearing about the same ladder we've climbed 400 times in Vernworth. They have adjusted the pawn's behavior in different dialogues. They're going to be less likely to fall off cliffs, which is going to be great because that's really annoying. And reducing the frequency of some pawn dialogues is also a welcome change. If you're currently being mauled by a wolf and dragged away, maybe the help command will actually work, where they'll come help you while you're being held by an enemy. And a big one, they're going to greatly reduce the frequency of pawns offering to be hired while you're in the field. There's also different crashes and various bug fixes that aren't listed here that are going to be there. Hopefully it's everything they said they're going to do and it doesn't mess up a bunch of stuff. Usually that's how it goes, so we'll see. Moving into some proper things though, I recently highlighted how the Talos can be defeated extremely quickly by the sorcerer master spell Maelstrom. Many people had other suggestions though, like the classic magic archer master skill Martyr's Bolt of course with ranged weapons and ranged attacks you can target the spikes and attack them no problem. But what about even faster than all of that? Well, a lot of comments highlighted that you can kill the Talos with the classic unmaking arrow to instantly kill any target you hit with it. Since this works even on the dragon in the final encounter, of course it's going to work here. This is a pretty fast way to do it, and again it's cool to see that animation on a larger scale with the holy version of the brine. It's a bit awkward though because it's not completely enwrapping the whole statue like I hoped it would. It only shows up at the spikes in different places, which is still interesting but not as cool. When you do this, all the spikes will instantly fall out at once, just like we saw with the sorcerer ultimate for those that you actually capture in it. Unfortunately, just like the other fast kills though, you still have to wait for the Talos to make its way all the way to the first checkpoint, where it will then fall to its knee with the arm still attached and so on. There's actually an even faster way to do this right from the moment that it steps out from the water, and that's the classic Medusa head. Turn enemies to stone. Yes, we can turn Talos to stone as well. Although it's weird because it's already kind of stone, or a different kind of stone I guess. As you can see though, it's very effective. Even if you do need a bit longer to start channeling the full effect, the Talos begins to slow and slow until eventually turning fully to stone while all the spikes just fall out again. However, there's one minor downside in that you're basically destroying this Talos completely. Since it's turned to stone, it's not going anywhere, it doesn't even make it to that first checkpoint. That seems to mean it's also crumbled in the unmoored world, where we would usually have him help us with one or two unmoored dragon enemies. Still, it is very cool to see these effects actually work on large story enemies like this. The scale of the animations, that feeling of is that possible, will they let you do this? It's always cool when they actually let you do that silly thing. But yeah, the Talos can be defeated very quickly in a number of ways. Getting the achievement for that is certainly doable. Continuing on the point of the Talos though, we have a continued topic on that. I'm standing here at the Volcanic Island, specifically though, of course, the Hot Springs camp or the Volcanic Island camp. As we know, the Talos comes from the water here, follows this main road, comes to the camp, and then starts to head east as it goes to the actual tower. Now, a big feature of this town is the hot springs. We have side quests and stuff to do with it. The warfarers found here. You can even go and use the hot springs to help rest and relax, recover the health of you and the pawns. If you were unaware, as a bonus little thing, as you take fights and your pawns go down, you have to revive them. They actually start to accumulate scars. So you can bring them to the hot springs to kind of remove the scars, which is a neat mechanic that maybe you didn't know about. But the real thing here is that the Talos attacks this town as part of its journey. It was a big topic in the comments of last time, and it came from a commenter called Vex, who talked about how there's a second Talos actually here at the Volcanic Island in the normal game. When you're going to the hot springs, what's just below it with the guards watching over it is the torso, specifically just the torso of a Talos. There's no legs, there's no head, no arms on any of it. So at least at some point a Talos came here before and may have been defeated and crumbled and broken. But what's interesting is how it's falling to pieces and is right up against this cave that leads into the hot springs. Now, another commenter by the name of Space Ninja said there's actually a head, but for the life of me, I can't find it here. Apparently, according to Space Ninja, we just need to come down here into the kind of crater where we can find the head. And I've done that, and I'm looking around, and I swear I can't find a head. I'm wondering whether this debris here, this rock, or this, and I absolutely believe that the head could be buried here. I'd love to spot it, but I've been running around in circles looking for it, and I can't find like a clear side. But either way, I can absolutely believe that there's other parts of the Talos here, because I don't think it's a coincidence that this hot spring exists. It has these healing properties. It was Fading Ghost who talked about this, wondering that if the fallen Talos is actually the reason that the hot springs have their healing properties. We know from something that we discussed recently that those spikes that are inside of the active Talos, the one we defeat, they work kind of like batteries. At least that's what I speculate. They're made from wakestones, because when you collect them, you get wakestone shards and can make wakestones from them. Wakestones actually revive the dead, and so I could also surmise that you could use them to heal and soothe the body and even, recover physical blemishes like scars. I like the idea that at some point, yes, a Talos came here and was defeated and broken apart, and its body and probably like the battery wakestone sort of spikes, they've dissolved and broken and ended up making this water that was previously just nice hot water have healing properties. At least that's a cool theory that I could believe. Now, it's obviously not a surprise that there's more than one Talos out there. In the seafloor shrine elevator scene, there's tons of them in the background in those caves. Whatever this anti-watcher, anti-dragon force behind the brine truly is, it seems to have had a whole army of Talos at one point and can still call them into action using the power of wakestones. I'd love to have more lore on the brine, but yeah, we just have a lot of speculation, really. For our next thing, I've jumped to a save where I'm back doing the riddles of the Sphinx. Specifically, though, we're on one of the random ones. Once you've done the first 5 riddles, you come to the second location, of course, and at that point, you start to get the remaining 5 in a different order. You could get them in any order. That's because one of them is the riddle of recollection, which is all about remembering how many riddles you currently successfully answered and what number you currently on. But the real thing here that is really cool, and I had no idea when I first did this, as she asked me, her memory fails, remind me, make it plain, how many riddles have you solved so far? She lets me know that there's statues on the left, and for however many I've answered, just put them in front of her. All fine and all good, and I went back and looked at my footage and I just started getting to that, because at that point I'd kept a note of it in a notepad, so I knew exactly what I was on at that point and just started throwing them, no problem. What was annoying for me to look at that footage, though, is that I never stopped and actually looked at the Sphinx. So I completely missed this, and I imagine other people have too. If you actually stop and look at the Sphinx while you're doing this, you can see that her wings are up. And normally when you're speaking to her, you can see how there's lots of lights lit up. It's a very cool visual effect. But in this case, she's got a specific amount of these eyes lit up on those wings, and that is the number that I'm actually on. In my case, in this specific save, I don't need to go check how many I've done or remember at all, because I can just look at her. She's telling me the answer. I have done 8 riddles so far. So to successfully answer this, I'm going to grab 8 statues and put them in front of her just to prove that that's how it works. But with that, we should be able to pass this riddle. And there you go. We've passed the riddle. No problem at all. It makes that significantly easier to do. And it means in my original guide, I wish I'd included this because it would have made this part so much easier for everyone following it. But you live and you learn new things as you go. And that's got to be one of my favorite things to talk about in the series so far. Moving on, here's one that's just a bit silly and one that I saw on the Dragons Dogma Reddit. As you likely know, around the Bakbatal Desert and some locations, you will find these lifts. You can basically go up to them and crank them and you'll go over the terrain. It doesn't necessarily feel that much faster, but it technically is because, you don't have to go around the terrain going up and down, climbing, or avoiding or even actively taking part in fights. But sometimes you'll get attacked while you're riding them. And so you want to defend yourself. And maybe if you're a sorcerer or something, you'll cast some spells. Here's the warning though, here's the thing. Some incants actually have you kind of hover in the air, specifically the master incant leading to the meteor spell. This has you basically generate these fire orbs around you, and once you pull them all together, you start to lift up into the air. That raw power, the energy, is pulling you up before you unleash it and drag down the meteors from the sky. Very cool visually and mechanically. But if you do that while you're on the elevator, for example, what will happen? Well, you will lift up into the air above the elevator, no longer physically be touching it, and so the elevator and all the pawns will continue on going while you awkwardly are hovering in the air on your own. In most cases with these lifts, you're quite high above the terrain, and so that fall is definitely going to be a killing fall. Now, I can't imagine you would risk, actually casting a meteor, but you could do, say, high spell hold and have one ready in general, and then think, say, a griffin or something else is attacking you. Why not just destroy them with a meteor cast and regret it? More of an interesting thing that can happen, though. I doubt that's something a lot of people are going to be doing. Okay, for our last thing today, I'm just here for a quick live commentary in the middle of back battle. There was a really popular comment on the last episode that I did by someone called Team NHB, talking about how different weapons cause different reactions in town. This is something I've known about since the first time I started to change vocations, and I thought it was more common knowledge, but with how much it was talked about and thumbs up and so on, people might not realize. So why not include it in the series? When I pull out some weapons, obviously everyone's going to start freaking out. I'm basically threatening them in a passive way. If I continue to do this long enough, guards will come up to me, as you can see, and they will eventually start to attack me. Everyone can understand what a sharpened blade being held in front of them silently at that means, and so everyone starts to freak out and takes measures that you would expect. However, if I pull out the trickster weapon, the sensor, nothing happens. No one even reacts. No one's threatened. The guards aren't concerned at all. And that makes sense, I guess, because it is very much a pacifist weapon. Maybe they don't even understand what it is. But what if we pull out something like a magic staff? This is a sorcerer staff and can be harnessed to create some of the most deadly, explosive, ridiculous effects in the game. We're talking about, of course, the literal meteor slams, the fire from your hands, turning people to ice. All this stuff is incredibly dangerous, incredibly effective, and again, no one even bats an eye. I look like just a dude holding a wooden staff. This is the same for mage staffs as well. When you pull out some sharpened blades, everyone understands this because anyone, including, I don't know, like a child, can grab a knife, and that's a concern. But when it comes to these more magical weapons, I guess anyone can hold this magical staff, but not everyone has the magical ability to actually channel it. Maybe lore-wise, the actual use of magic by mages and sorcerers is quite rare. And so they've simply not seen someone be mugged by like a sorcerer ever, but they have seen someone be mugged with some knives or daggers or sword or whatever. It's just some cool little subtle details with the NPCs, and it makes the world feel a little bit more realistic and real, and it's always appreciated. But there you have it, our newest set of things you might not have known about in Dragons Dogma 2. As always, if you guys have anything you'd like to suggest for this series or something to bring up based on today's topics, let us know in the comments. For now, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.